Hi, I'm Alex Radcliffe.
Hi, I'm Rina.
And I'm Shira.
And today we are doing a Play This Not That of Marvel United and the Reckoners. Now, to begin with, well, first of all, if you missed it already, there has been gameplay of the Reckoners as well as Marvel United earlier today on the channel. I'll throw links down below. I also reviewed the Reckoners in an independent video a while ago. I'll throw a link to that as well. Have not done a full review of Marvel United. Perhaps I will once I have a full opportunity to go through all the content and everything else. But for right now, we're just going to start by comparing these two games. And to begin with, let's go through what the general overview of these games are, why they're comparable and all that, and then we'll dive down to the various categories of how we do the Play This Not That series. And starting off, both of these games are going to have superheroes in them. And that's why we're comparing them today. So effectively, they both are going to be superhero games. They both, well, I mean, that's Thanos. Only one of the games has Thanos.
I couldn't reach them. They're far away.
One of the games has Thanos. The other game does not. Both of them are going to be cooperative experiences. Both of them have a large degree of teamwork as you work together to try to ensure you have these symbols you need. Both of them are going to have a circular map where the villains running around in circles, activating their thing, doing bad stuff all along the way. Other similarities, I had a bunch of other things, but generally, cooperative-based superhero game, light, accessible. Both of them are, very, very simple and streamlined in what they bring to the table, what they do, and just, go through the motions. Good guys do their thing, bad guy does their thing. Ultimately, hopefully, you win and kill the bad guys. They do have a big difference in the sense that Marvel United, you are the superheroes, and in the Reckoners, you're trying to kill the superheroes. So slight disconnect there, but that's overall a very high-level overview of what these two games are. If you want to know more about these games, plenty of other content to Play This Not That series is more about just, well, comparing them, and hopefully you know at least a little bit about what these games already do. And so, starting off the bat, the very first thing we do is usually the more factual of the things, which is going to be, well, price. Ultimately, in terms of comparing the price of these. Yes.
That one's drastically more expensive. It comes in many more boxes.
Well, so that's where it gets complicated off the bat.
Do you know how many boxes it came in?
It came in a lot of boxes.
There are more boxes behind you.
There's more boxes behind us. There's boxes outside in the garbage already, which I didn't throw out the game. I threw out the extra unnecessary boxes. I consolidated the game. But more specifically, it gets a little complicated because it depends what you're comparing, whether you're having fun over there, having fun. We'll get to components soon. But effectively, comparing the boxes, comparing the price depends on whether you're comparing the retail or the cheaper versions of these games or the more deluxe, because both of these games come in more deluxe versions with expansions, with all that stuff. The cheap version of getting the Reckoners is going to run you roughly $60 to $70 for the entry base game, none of the premium upgrades or anything. Whereas the cheap version of Marvel United is going to run you around $25, $35 on Amazon, Walmart, wherever it is. So basically almost double the price, base game to base game. But if you want everything, well, the conversation changes. Because if you want everything for the Reckoners, the most recent expansion, the most recent Kickstarter they had for all-in was roughly $200. The all-in for Marvel United was roughly $250. So now we're talking about a much more similar price range, although they also have Marvel United X-Men.
I was not expecting that.
What were you expecting?
I was expecting that to be so much more, and this to be so much less.
Have you touched those premium metal components over there?
Yes, I've dropped them.
They're metal.
Very frequently.
Half the components in that game is metal.
Oops.
Yeah, this is a premium game. Game trays, inserts, everything else. But yeah, so price point, it depends what you're comparing. Retail is going to be, Marvel United is much cheaper, and Deluxe All-In, Marvel United is going to be a bit more expensive. So that's overall going to be price. And from there, we start moving on to opinions. So, art and components. Shira, you want to go first?
Well, I do like Marvel as, I don't know.
So that's theme. Theme's next.
Theme's next? Okay.
Right now we're doing art
that has to
components.
do with artwork, also.
So let's do theme first. Theme first. We're doing something. Shira, do you want to go first?
Sure. I like Marvel. I know you guys compared this to the Bad Boys, which I've never seen.
Just the boys.
Just the boys. You like Bad Boys.
Never mind. That is a different movie.
She likes Bad Boys the movie, not the concept.
Yes. I like the art in Marvel a lot. I like the characters. Yeah. I watched all the movies finally, and in order, mind you, during COVID pandemic when you can't do anything else. And yeah, I really like that theme a lot. It's a cohesive story. This is just random superheroes.
Now you haven't watched The Boys or read The Reckoners, have you?
No.
Okay,
so neither.
So that it's a lot more cohesive. Yeah.
Okay.
No, snap! You have to snap.
Your turn.
She's gonna snap, and those gems are gonna go flying everywhere mid-video.
I can't snap with this hand.
Okay.
You snap with your other hand.
So, Rina, theme, as far as yourself.
I like both. I've always loved Brandon Sanderson's story, so I am very happy with the Reckoners line, but I also really like Marvel, having watched the series 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Roughly.
at least
It
twice,
depends on the
possibly
movie.
3. Depends on the movie.
Depends on the movie. But I really like both themes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very happy to play, you know.
And so for myself,
Either
it's
one.
going to be, I guess, probably similar to you. I've read the original Reckoners book. I haven't read any subsequent ones. I have watched everything they have up to the boys until now. I compare this more to the boys just because it's more recently what I've experienced. But overall, in terms of theme, they're both going to give me some of the feeling I'm looking for. I remember the first time we pulled out the Reckoners, we had just finished like the boys season 1 or something. I don't know. And we like really felt like we were in the boys. But then again, Marvel is Marvel, and Marvel's a lot of fun, and we like Marvel. And both of them, by the way, even though
Marvel has Groot.
Marvel has Groot, which is an instant win right there.
Yes.
But, I mean, and both of them, by the way, don't fully engage with the theme, at least in my own opinion. Both of them are very abstracted. When you're running around in a circle and you have Groot and Spider-Man fighting against, Mysterio, and it's a weird hybrid of things that have never happened with a variety of locations, it's definitely a surface level theme. Similarly, in the Reckoners, though, when you're engaging against the various epics that are the villains you're fighting against, they're a bunch of abstract symbols with no real meaning behind what's going on, and it's not fully engaged in the theme in either of these. Both of them are fun, like both of them a lot in terms of the theme, but they're also very surface level in that sense. So far, you and I are kind of semi-middle of the road for both of them in terms of wins, and you haven't watched the Reckoners or the boys.
I mean, I'm not opposed to the art, to the theme and the art of Reckoners. Like, I think...
Speaking of art, so you are not opposed to the art and art and components. Go ahead.
Yes, this is actually more realistic looking, and it is pretty.
Like, look how nice the skull is.
I actually don't think I've noticed that it was the shape of a
skull.
skull.
That's a skull.
It's also
apparently.
a magnifying glass.
Artwork in games.
We know where Ricky gets it from.
Yes.
She notices things.
So apparently the inserts for the locations
no, I
show
noticed pretty
skulls.
colorful stuff. Like this is a Ferris wheel, and it also looks like it's in a Chicago setting because that's this is Navy Pier in Chicago.
Yeah.
These are cities.
It says it on the side.
Just as a heads up, there's no top
Fine,
camera.
I figured it out before it said that. Whatever.
Okay.
So yeah, I do like the colors and the artwork.
Doesn't the Reckoners take place in Chicago?
I don't remember. It's been a really
I don't know.
long time since
Don't
I
ask
been a
someone who
while,
hasn't
sorta.
watched it.
Yeah.
This looks more dark and gloomy. That looks more cartoony and happy and...
You mean the giant chibi fluffy heads don't scream gloom and doom?
No.
You sure?
No, and even
Hela.
Red Skull.
There.
You're saying this little version of Venom doesn't look like he's going to rip your head off?
No, even
Venom's
Thanos
very
does
nice.
not. Kapow!
Kapow. Yeah, they are a little bit less threatening when they're chibi style.
Like, he just looks a lot more scary.
He does look a little
Honestly,
intense.
he looks like Doctor Strange with his
Doctor
cape.
Strange is lovely. Don't leave Doctor Strange alone.
No, Doctor
No, he
Strange
looks
is-
exactly like the main character
from the boys.
from the boys.
I
He
know.
looks like Doctor Strange with his cape.
But yeah, for myself, theme and art, I mean, first of all, let's go with art. We did the theme already. So, for myself, art of the two games, while I like the Reckoners in terms of the artwork, to me, Marvel United is an instant win across the board in terms of arts and components. Because, don't get me wrong, both of them have a lot of solid things. The Reckoners, well, Rena's holding this over here, the Reckoners is chock full of metal components, especially if you have the deluxe upgrade kit. So if you have, not deluxe upgrade kit, if you have the deluxe fight version of the game, half the components are going to be metal. You're going to have metal little gears to notch how strong the epics are. You're going to have metal tokens to mark their health, their research. You're going to have metal coins to mark your wilds. You're going to have a metal little steel heart. It's just, they basically just said, how can we throw more metal into this game? And they found ways to do so. All that's amazing. Feels very premium. The game tray is very premium, all that. But I'm a sucker for chibi minis. Chibi minis with gorgeous, this Venom is adorable.
If you painted it,
It's-
then I would agree that artwork was better.
Have you seen Squirrel Girl? This
No.
is Squirrel Girl.
I don't know who she is.
Because she's not been in a movie yet. We'll work on it. We'll get that happening.
I am Groot.
I'm Groot. Chibi Groot. For me, it's...
I am Groot.
If you don't find this anymore after this video, I don't know where it disappeared to.
As much as I enjoy both the art and the components in the Reckoners, I think it's a solid presentation. I am being pulled in by this chibi Marvel universe. That's gonna be me. Yourself?
I have always been a sucker for chibi artwork and everything. Cause
Two of you.
No, they're so cute and they have such big
Yes, they're
eyes.
cute. They are not menacing. They are not intimidating. They're cute.
It's okay.
Which just
I was
says that
looking
what
at
we're
this
looking
and
at, looking for in a board game is cute and fluffy. You're looking for menacing and dark.
Yes, ergo Cthulhu Wars and Cthulhu Death May Die and
Yes,
Glorinthian. I don't know how to spell
God's
it.
War, Glorintha.
God's
I
War.
didn't like Cthulhu.
I do.
You do.
Yeah.
It's big and
She likes
scary.
Cthulhu.
So one of the things I noticed about is when you talk about the gloom and doom, I'm like thinking about it, I'm like, man, this would hurt so much if I stepped on it.
Don't step on that.
They're so
Don't step on that. We do have a spare plastic one, but I'd like the metal
Lots
one.
of pokey things.
so pokey and
Yes.
pointy. It's very painful.
It's like Lego.
I don't know. So while you didn't notice there was a skull there, I also like to point out that the research is a giant magnifying glass.
well,
Once you
now we
pointed out
know.
the one,
Now we
I
know.
noticed the other.
But yeah.
I like the design of the trays. I like the design of all of the artwork pieces here. As you know, I don't like this mat situation
We haven't
here.
played
Shall I
the play
rub my
mat.
fingers on it?
We
for
never
you?
will. No, because I don't like. Yes.
Rina doesn't like the feel of these types of mats. You're going to throw this whole video off. Go ahead.
No, but I really like the artwork for both things. This appeals to my happy chippy side. This appeals to my.
Dark and gloomy side? Do you have a dark and gloomy side?
She does.
I mean, I like
Have you met
reading
her?
really dark fiction all the time. So,
Sure.
And nonfiction. So, yes, it definitely appeals.
Oh, and of course, obviously, Marvel has the giant glove that Shira's wearing as well.
Oh, yes, that's true.
So that's just, I mean,
Yeah,
that's just a
there you
straight up.
go.
There we go. Half the viewers just walked away. So,
And another half came on at that point.
so that is going to be that. Next up is going to be the ease of the the accessibility, the game time, all the things that make a game accessible in terms of that.
This is the best
And
game.
so, well, I'm going to jump straight into this one off the bat. Marvel United is a game that plays in around 20 minutes, and you can get people literally up and running in around 5 to 6 minutes of teach, 20-minute game time. It is easy to pull out, easy to teach, easy to play, easy to mix and match all the forms of content you have from the various heroes and whatnot. It's just, what do
It's
you
not
think?
easy to put away. I'm just thinking about all the zillions of minis that you have.
Oh, no,
Throws
no,
them all
no.
into a box.
Yeah, I throw them in the box.
Now you do.
Correct. When I first get a game...
Unceremoniously, he just chucks them all. It doesn't
I
matter
don't
if they're standing
chuck
on
them
their
into a
head.
box.
It doesn't matter if they're
Gently-
injured.
Gently puts them in.
When I first get a game from any of these Kickstarter games, whatever it is, I am very precise as to where all the miniatures go. Once I'm certain I'm keeping it, they just all go in one box because I don't want to sacrifice a 20-minute game time with 15 minutes of setup and 15 minutes of tear down. So it's just not worth it.
And also, you're lacking a little space in your storage
And
right
also,
now.
I'm lacking a little space in my storage right now. Cue the presentation of the giant 5x5 you can see out of the camera. We got a new shelf in the corner over there.
See it out the camera?
You can kind of see at the edge. It
That's a
works.
pretty
It
game.
works. That is a pretty game. We just got that one. We're being so distracted here. So, that is going to be my opinion of the... And then Reckoners. Reckoners is going to be Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl. So, Reckoners is going to be one in which we, while Reckoners is not that hard to teach, there's a little more sequencing to it. Again, not that crazy. If you watch the playthrough we had, it's pretty easy to get up and running. It follows a typical, cooperative sequence. Good guys do good things, bad guys do bad things. It has Yahtzee-style dice rolling. There's a lot of core mechanics you can build off to teach people, but then there's also new things that you have to teach people. It's definitely more of a, 15, 20-minute teach, and then the game time is probably closer to around 45 minutes to an hour. Going to depend on the player count, but definitely longer in that sense. So if accessibility is your goal, for myself, Marvel United is a clear win, but both of them are fairly accessible. Any thoughts and opinions, or?
A 2-year-old can play that one. You need to be 10 or above to play this one.
Yay! Cool. Box says...
No, well, the 6-year-old successfully played this game.
Box says A+. That's the legal reason.
Yes,
They have
our
things...
6-year-old played this
Yeah,
game.
I just played this with Tavi. Yeah, I just
I'm-
played this
I'm just saying, that one, it feels less intellectually stimulating in that one.
100%.
This one feels a little bit more intellectually stimulating. You're making a little bit more decisions.
Yes,
Yep.
so many more decisions.
So, that's my comment.
Speaking of which, we move on to mechanics, the final category and the largest category where largest is relative, depends what we have to say about it, but the largest category we dive into all the things about these games, the actual mechanically speaking, and what we like about them and more and stuff. So, Shira, you were saying.
I do like cards in general, but I like dice a lot more. And
And Rina, you were nodding.
because you do or do not. You didn't like Kabuto, so you cannot say you like dice.
I like dice in certain situations. I like dice when I play Cthulhu. I like dice when I play Rise
You like
of
dice when you
Mala.
can
I like-
re-roll them to get what you want.
Ironically, I feel like you have more control over the dice, even though in the deck of cards you are given options and you do have more control. But
Oh, no, I completely agree with you.
only if
Yeah.
the certain cards come out at the right time that you want, and they don't always come out at the right time. Like, I held the game that we played recently, I held 2 cards in my hand the whole time, and that only
And
meant
did
that I
we
had...
win with that card?
Eventually, but it
Did
took...
we win with that card?
Yes, I killed him with that
The person who likes to weed their deck, and it's like, you don't need that card, you'll get it back later.
This is a deck of 12 cards. 12.
You don't get them
That's all it
back,
is.
and you can't weed them. You can't get rid of a card you don't want.
So you sort of can, to a degree, when you take damage from the villain, what you're going to do is you're going to discard your hand to the bottom of the deck. It does come
Lucky
back.
us, we were so strong, we took no damage.
Well, that happened in that game, but that's going to be a thing. But see, I mean, I agree with you completely. The dice versus cards is going to be the first big distinguisher between these games off the hand. Both of them, you're ultimately trying to get specific symbols to do specific things. Now, in the Reckoners, you're trying to get 6 different symbols to do 6 different things, and in Marvel United, it's only 3 different symbols. So again, degrees of complexity. But in Marvel United, you're just playing cards and then playing off each other's cards. As you play cards to your card row, you get to use each other's symbols. Whereas in the Reckoners, you're re-rolling Yahtzee style. You get 3 rolls, have to keep one die, at least one die each roll, and then trying to get the symbols you want.
I know they're both collaborative, but I do feel more interactive.
More teamwork?
More teamwork with
this one,
Reckoners.
yeah.
Like, I'm talking to you,
More.
like, what symbols do you need me to keep? What symbols do I want to keep for myself? What makes me feel powerful and not? That's like, okay, do you need this on your card or not? And it was more
Yeah. So I agree
vague.
to a degree.
This also has cards.
It has
Yeah.
So
cards.
you know what? That doesn't need to exist. This has cards.
So
But
opinions,
the
you know.
cards build upon
And
what
these
dice
gives you
have.
powers and
Yes.
abilities. Do you like powers and
I
abilities?
do like powers and abilities.
forget.
I
Do
do
you
like powers
to
and abilities.
Boost up?
So basically, for both these games, they're both going to have that teamwork aspect where you kind of need to talk to each other to get, input of, oh, well, do you need, an attack? Do you need a rescue? Do you need a move? Do you need to take care of these villains? They both have a degree of talking to each other to try to build off what you want. I do agree with you that the Reckoners has more of an interactive feel of, well, I really need to take care of those 2 henchmen. I'm going to go take care of that epic. It has more of that feel.
Yes.
Whereas the Marvel United more often comes down to, hey, I got to do some stuff in my turn. Do you want more fighting or do you want more running? It has communication. It has building off of each other's teamwork, but it is more dialed back in just how
It's more
interactive.
boring.
And it's just more boring. That's less mechanics and more opinion.
Yes.
This also, it feels like the bad people keep coming and coming and coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
That, it's like, the bad men are just very manageable.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Well, they're still more manageable.
They just feel like this, if you kill an epic, another one just sprouts up. It's not like,
Yes.
oh, we accomplished our goal. It's like, oh, new one comes out, and this one is gonna...
So this would be more
Hurt
under
us
difficulty.
differently.
So under the category of difficulty, which is not really a category, but under mechanics-wise, difficulty-wise, I agree with you. Reckoners is definitely more difficult in terms of the management, or at least feels more like a constant back and forth. Marvel United, more often than not, you have things under control, and one of my pet peeves about the game is that the first way the game says to make things more difficult is to remove the wild cards from your hand, which is the most fun thing to actually get when you get like 2 wilds and play them down. I don't like it when a game... You didn't
You've
know
never
this?
heard this?
No, because I haven't played long enough to actually get that far.
So, well,
She's never seen the fun, cool wild cards.
No, wait, the
Oh
wild.
no, the wild cards are in there, but why would
The
why would
double
you
wild?
take? Yes, but why would
Because
you take them out?
that's what I'm saying. I like when a game makes the other team more difficult. Don't take away my fun stuff. My favorite moment in Marvel United is when I get to play my double wild and do whatever I want.
On top of a double wild.
On top of the double wild, do 4 wild symbols. That's so much fun.
Yes.
The game's like, let's make the game more difficult. Let's take the fun out of it. So I don't value that at all. Now, some of the expansions, we haven't really engaged all the expansions. Some of the expansions do give you more stuff to do in that sense, and various villains and hero combinations are going to be more or less difficult. So you definitely can scale the game's difficulty to a degree, but base game is certainly easier to actually manage than Reckoners. Yes. Anything else mechanically that comes to mind? So you mentioned, Shira mentioned the card upgrades. You're pointing to all these card upgrades over here.
Yes.
The Reckoners is going to give you in-game upgrades that you can constantly buy from this card row over here, and then slowly buff up your characters while you're trying to take down Steelheart. Marvel United doesn't really have that. Marvel United doesn't really have upgrades. You have your deck of 12 cards, which are primarily symbols based. You're gonna have 3 cards in each deck that are like an ability, but you're not building up a tableau. Yes, you have some degrees of powers and abilities, but it's much more scaled back compared to what the Reckoners allows you to do. There's more room for generation in the Reckoners.
Reckoners, the colors of the device of the dice
Yeah.
are all different also. So when you're
Yes.
playing as a team, one person is stronger in one area, one person's stronger in another. So you also cater the cards that you buy towards those abilities and what dice that you are more likely
So there's more
to roll.
synergy for comboing and abilities and
Yes.
all of that.
I also like the tracking system in Reckoners is much, much better than Marvel
So that's going to
United.
come down to, I guess, the tracking system over here is the way they manage the villains' bad stuff
It's
happening.
in one spot, I can see it. It's not I have to follow an entire circle of
Well,
cards.
for the Marvel, I don't think you have to follow the full
I
circle.
couldn't see half the cards.
You only have to follow you generally only have to follow like the last 2.
Yes, I know, but depending
Generally.
where they are, I can't
Unless you're
see
trying
them.
to pull that card from the card row, that's a
Yes.
different situation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, Marvel United is going to have the different heroes that are going to be mixing up the experience every single time. Each hero, each villain, not hero, the villains are going to be accept the experience every time. Each villain is going to give you a different set of rules around the core system that make the game feel different to game, which for me is a big factor as well. Variability-wise, while I like the Reckoners a lot, the Reckoners is basically the same game every single time. The only thing that mixes it up is which equipment cards come out, and after you've played 2 or 3 games, you've seen them all, and it's the same experience every time. Fun, but the same game. Now, I'm hoping the expansion changes that. Keep in mind, I'm comparing to a certain degree Marvel United with some of the expansions compared to the Reckoners base game. So, because the expansion isn't out yet. So, we'll see how that plays out.
You could say that about Marvel. All I do is I hit, I move, or I contain.
But every villain is a totally different experience. Every villain is we just played against
What
Mysterio.
the villains
Mysterio
is very different.
Mysterio plays with face down cards and mixing up, and he walks around the board fake rescuing henchmen because he's pretending to be a good guy.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious, right? And then,
yes. So like it's more thematic.
It's more thematic. Which I agree is more thematic, yeah. And then I like the variability. I like the fact that when I walk into a game of Marvel United, I'm constantly mixing up the feel of the game based on the villain I'm playing against. So it does have more variability, at least for myself. So I think that's primarily. Anything else we cover? Lastly, or not?
I'm Groot.
I am Groot. I am Groot. That should be. We should just go with that. We should be like, and what do you recommend? I am Groot. What do you recommend, Rina?
I am Groot.
And what do I recommend? I am Groot. Thanks so much. I am Alex Radcliffe.
I'm Rina.
And I'm Shira.
And have a good one.
I'm Groot.
Okay, fine. No, not really. Okay, so basically,
you didn't say what you rated the games as.
Well, we can cover that too. So let's go with Let's go with ratings and preferences, starting with you, Shira.
Fine.
If you want, I can go first.
No, I'm fine actually. I rate them both a 4. They're both solid, good games, and I actually don't think I have much of a preference because the theme on that one is sentimental, and the mechanics on this one are a little bit more intellectually stimulating. So I rate them. I'd play either, and I like them both.
Yep. Yourself, Rina?
I'd probably recommend or say, in my opinion, Reckoners is a 4, Marvel United is a 3.
Okay.
Marvel United is a solid game. It's just not what I
want to play.
Yes.
That's a 3 for you?
Yeah.
Not what you want to play used to be 1s for you.
She's maturing.
I'm matured.
And for myself, my answer is going to be as equally uninteresting as Shira's. I rate them both a 4, and I don't really have a strong preference. Now, the nuance there is the fact that I think the Reckoners is a better game. I enjoyed playing the Reckoners more. But there is more variability in Marvel United, and if I want an accessible game, Marvel United will hit the table far more often. So ultimately, if I had to pick one in terms of, if I was recommending one, I'd recommend Marvel United first. And the reason for that is I think this one will hit your table far more often. But in terms of my actual preference, I want both of my collection for different experiences. If I want something a little more engaging, a little more strategy, a little more teamwork, a little more all of that, I will play the Reckoners. But I do have to have more time, and it's also not one I'm going to pull out as frequently because of that. And if you don't want to play any of that, you can always play Tetris or some form of Jenga with Marvel United characters while we play. Otherwise known as I Am Groot. So, that's basically it. Those are going to be our overall scores. Technically speaking, if you're going by a combination of the 3 of us, the Reckoners will win, because Shira and I are boring and uninteresting and pick both of them, and Rina just prefers the Reckoners. Until next time, I am Alex Radcliffe.
Always?
Yeah, always. I'm always Alex Radcliffe. I'm Alex.
I'm Rina.
And I'm Groot.